They told me I was obsessive over a small stream that had wound through my property long before any of us took a breath. And now that their grand houses, constructed on hubris and shaky foundations, start to fall into the very chasm their so-called genius caused, I find myself pondering what obsession truly is. If you've ever had to contend with the stubborn hubris of an HOA and wondered if sanity is a choice for the powers that be, then this tale will ring true. My property was old, grandfathered in long before Cedar Grove Estate's tacky spread burst forth like a weed in spring. Behind my garden, a narrow creek, Cedar Brook, I named it, wound about barely 3 feet wide, but full of life. Ferns gripped its edges, moss blanketed the stones, and thirsty willows leaned in with roots that gave the brook its name. On summer nights, frogs gave concerts, a stubborn little symphony of nature. I'd tended that creek for years, pulled weeds by hand, kept it flowing clean. It was the heartbeat of my small world, nature's quiet, steady poetry. And then came Claudia Vaughn, just elected HOA president. Claudia paraded around in leadership, with a voice that curdled milk and an ego that could block out the sun. Her house, yet another beige box that had usurped what had once been a serene meadow, abutted my fence. Our initial confrontation occurred on a crisp Saturday. I was pruning roses along the creek when she and a nervous man named Roger, the HOA secretary, approached. She strode along as if she owned the ground that her feet were walking on. A garish yellow sash across her back in neon letters screamed HOA president, making it happen, ridiculous over her tennis attire. "Mr. Carter, I presume?" she snapped, omitting the niceties of hello. I nodded. "The board of Cedar Grove Estates," she declared, gesturing behind her toward the beige, heartless houses, "has determined your gully a visual eyesore and drainage issue." I blinked, glanced at the creek, and then back at her. "This gully, Madam President, is Cedar Brook. It's a natural stream, long before your grid of mansions, and it passes through my property." Claudia waved me off, a gesture I'd come to despise. "Semantics, Mr. Carter. It's ugly, probably carries pests, damages our property values. We're designing a uniform water feature. Yours doesn't meet the aesthetic." I told him its role in the ecosystem, how it filtered stormwater, and my riparian rights, all legally specified in my deed. Roger nervously tapped his clipboard. Claudia, though, stood as a statue sculpted from self-satisfaction. "HOA rules supersede old deeds," she announced as though reading from scripture. "Repair it, or let our beautification staff do it." "What does repairing a natural creek even mean?" I asked. Her smile would freeze fire. "Culverts, perhaps fill it with rock. We need water control. It's part of the community, not some backyard hoarder." That's when I understood. This wasn't about reason. This was a crusade, masquerading as progress. My neighbor, Mr. Hawthorne, a retired surveyor, had cautioned me. "Power-hungry nitwits," he grumbled, "think they're governing an empire rather than a subdivision." He was correct. 1 week later, I received the formal notice, a rambling threat asking me to cease unmanaged water flow and provide a redesign to conform to their hydrological aesthetics. It was insane. My paralegal friend Lisa cackled when she read it. "HOA madness, Tom. They can't require you to destroy a natural stream because it doesn't resonate with their vision." With her assistance, I wrote back, officially referencing property law and state waterway protections, insisting they identify which bylaw had empowered them to govern my creek. Certified mail, step 1 in my paper trail. Their response, stamped by Claudia and feverishly signed by Roger, labeled me anti-community and threatened penalties. So I doubled down, took daily photos, mounted a trail cam for wildlife and trespassers, burrowed through county records. Mr. Hawthorne directed me to a 1950s survey. Cedar Brook clearly marked as a natural drainage route predating the HOA by decades. "This little guy moves more runoff than they realize," he said, outlining a line with his finger. "Mess with it and they'll pay." Next, Claudia's crew started planting thirsty decorative shrubs in front of my fence, digging toward the creek's water. Then they delivered their first blow, a 10-foot-long mud berm, 1 foot wide, pushed up against my fence in the exact place Cedar Brook used to leave my property. Backing water up. Sabotage. My trail cam captured Claudia, all sash and in command, directing the landscapers to do it. I was fuming. I called Lisa. "This is trespass," she declared. "Send a cease and desist. Require they take it down or be held liable." We delivered the letter, photos included. Claudia replied by smirking at my mailbox. "That mud pile's a temporary addition to the community. You should thank Yuduwana." I never met a single engineer. A local newspaper even complimented their new water strategy, paraphrasing Claudia's bombastic speech about landscape synergy. Her berm, meanwhile, continued to soak my yard after every storm. I chronicled every inch. Neighbors began gossiping about her dictatorship, fines for trifles, exorbitant dues, intimidation techniques. My creek was merely one front. Then came her masterwork, the Cedar Grove Cascades, a series of artificial ponds and troughs terminating in a retention basin up above my land. Their pamphlets boasted of a hydrological loop. Whispers spoke of its source of water. Mr. Hawthorne jeered. "She thinks she can trench and make all the rain, and your creek dance to her whim." They didn't retain hydrologists, just a generic crew of construction workers, trenched deep channels through loose clay. I looked into it and retained Dr. Larson, a retired geologist. His opinion? Catastrophic. The hills would fall over without support. The pond couldn't accept runoff. Homes close to the trench, constructed over loose fill, were vulnerable. I forwarded his biting report to Claudia. Roger's response? "Our contractors are certified. Case closed." They disregarded Larson, continued digging, constructed shaky bridges, rolled boulders. Claudia, flying sash, directed like a war general. Their system was a passive-aggressive insult to my creek. Dry summer gave them time. The cascades formed. No instant cataclysm. It fed delusions for Claudia. They even had a ribbon-cutting ceremony for the circulation pump. I observed from my fence, Larson's admonition in hand. My creek, partially choked by her berm, still trickled on. Hawthorne cautioned me. Clay after drought, when water-soaked, becomes deadly. Then fall arrived. Heavy rains. A Pineapple Express storm. I drained my culvert, sneaked past her berm without flooding, photographed it. HOA's skimpy silt fences would be no match. Claudia wrote online, "Our water features can handle anything." That Friday evening, the rains came down, merciless. Come dawn, Cedar Brook flowed swiftly and clean, thanks to my repair. The Cascades, however, a catastrophe. The channel thundered, boulders vanished, bridges were smashed, clay walls collapsed. Then the landslides. The nearest homes, Claudia's friends, were destroyed. Lawns were divided, foundations were moved, a terrace collapsed into the deluge. Shrubs, patios, lost, sirens, shrieks, panicked neighbors. Claudia, matted and soaked, shouting orders no one obeyed. I recorded, not in defiance, but as documentation. Driveways cracked open, foundations laid bare, utilities were cut off to avoid further damage. My property? Dry. Cedar Brook performed its magic. Actual engineers arrived. Larson was vindicated. Damages, millions. Suits lined up. My documentation, photos, videos, reports, became main evidence. Lisa warned me, "You warned them. Use facts. Let the law take care of the rest." The following HOA meeting was a circus. Angry residents demanding explanations. Claudia quit. Her board collapsed. Cascades sealed and condemned. HOA was hit with huge fees and repair bills. Claudia sold her house at a loss. Vanished. Cedar Brook ran free once more. Wildlife moved back in. The berm was history. It didn't end in bliss, but truth. Ego took a back seat to reason. Nature does not appreciate control. If you're fighting an HOA bully, record everything. Familiarize yourself with the law, and don't ever underestimate water. It always prevails. And now my creek sings once more. Willows dance. While Cedar Grove Estates pays for their pride, Their cascades, constructed to eclipse my stream, were the monolith to their demise.